This is former Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver JJ Birden, and you're watching the Outsider Sports Show.
Welcome, everyone, to the Outsider Sports Show, our Super Bowl Super Show, and your money stays and plays with us right here. Clint Schweitzer, Noah Groniger joining you. Cannot wait. The Super Bowl is upon us, Noah. Let's do this thing, my man.
Let's do it. I mean, if you're looking for Super Bowl coverage, look no further than the Outsider Sports Show. Your sexy beasts are back, baby. We've got one of the greatest Super Bowl matchups that I can remember in the Seahawks and the Patriots. Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, my two favorite quarterbacks in the NFL, going at it, pitted against each other. It's going to be great to see who comes out on top.
Absolutely is. And we've got some great guests coming on and joining us. The voice of the New England Patriots, Mr. Bob Socci, is going to be joining us on this very show to not talk about Deflategate, but to talk about all the ins and outs of this Super Bowl, Super Bowl 49. Cannot wait to have that. Also, JJ Birden, the former Chiefs wide receiver, is going to be giving his thoughts on the game. Our correspondent from out in Arizona, going to be joining us live right here talking about this game. And I'll tell you what, Noah, I've been to the World Series. I've been to WrestleMania. I've even been to the Rolling Stones. But there is one event that takes them all down, and that's the Super Bowl, and that's what we have right here. Tom Brady going for his fourth, trying to tie Joe Montana, trying to tie Terry Bradshaw, trying to cement himself as the greatest of all time. We've got this great Super Bowl defense of the defending champions, the Seattle Seahawks.
That's right. I mean, come media day, we had Marshawn Lynch not talking. We had Tom Brady, and we had Brandon Browner saying that they might even go after Rob Gronkowski's elbow to slow the big physical stud tight end down for the New England Patriots, bringing minds back to Bountygate. We don't want to hear talk like that. Brandon Browner, the NFL is not going to want to hear that.
Hey, if we have time, we're going to try to get some reaction from Marshawn Lynch. He has promised us that he will come on here and say a little something for the Outsider Sports Show, just for our fans here. Maybe even get a shout out from Tom Brady out there.
We'll try and sneak it in.
Hey, we're going to try to sneak all that in, guys, for you right here. GreatAmericanSportsNetwork.com, guys. That's where all of our stuff's archived. Go check it all out. And I'll tell you what, this is just such a pleasure for us to be up here on our palatial set with the Versace, custom made from head to toe, here on the Outsider Sports Show. Guys, that's what we always do for you. Thank you so much. And it is our pleasure to welcome the voice of the New England Patriots, Mr. Bob Socci, to the show. Bob, you're a busy guy, man. Does it ever get old calling all these postseason games and Super Bowls out there?
Well, Clint, this is only my second year calling the Patriots, and I hope it never gets old. My predecessor, Gil Santos, who was the voice of the team for 36 years, got accustomed to calling the Super Bowls, of course, and called 3 Super Bowl winning performances by the Pats. And I'm very, very fortunate to be in my second season with the team, having called 2 AFC championships and now being privileged to call Super Bowl, which so many guys around the league have been, but unable to do, despite being at it a lot longer than I have. So I'm very, very thankful for it. But it's also a very exciting time, as you know.
Oh, definitely. How do you see the Patriots and Tom Brady in this offense dealing with the Seattle Seahawks defense? The Patriots seem to struggle with teams that can just rush forward, don't have to blitz, and still get to the quarterback.
Well, that's a great question. I think, we'll see. I think from the Patriots, a pretty balanced attack against Seattle. At least that'll be the game plan going in, most believe, because the one, I don't even want to call it an area of weakness with Seattle, but ever since Mebane went down to injury, they've been a little more susceptible to the run. And certainly Green Bay had success with Eddie Lacy running the ball 135 yards total for the Packers as a team in the NFC Championship. So there's a conventional thought here and elsewhere in football, at least when you start to break down the game on the field, the Patriots will have to, or should at least try to run on the Seahawks. And the Pats ran the ball so well at various points of the last 2 postseasons against the Indianapolis Colts, but this is certainly not the Colts defense, as you know. Seattle is just so impressive. But I think the Patriots have to do what they do. And, the 2 guys that have had success against Seattle, it seems, in the past to me, in the passing game, the slot position, if you've got a receiver like Randall Cobb, for example, against the Seahawks in the game last week, or Wes Welker for the Patriots against the Seahawks in their last regular season meeting of 2012, those are guys that can make plays. The Seahawks do such a great job on the outside covering, and they're not very exotic. They don't do a lot of exotic zone blitzes or even blitzing overall. I think in last year's Super Bowls, dominant as they were, Dan Quinn, the defensive coordinator, if I recall correctly, said they blitzed fewer than 10 times. They're very aggressive with the defensive backs, but also a lot of people believe that they'll play with more or less a cover three, so they keep their corners on the same side of the field generally, and for the Patriots, I think those guys underneath are going to have a big game, and Danny Amendola complimenting Julian Edelman, who's been Tom Brady's go-to receiver the last couple of years, are very, very important to this team. And then you look at the tight end, for example, the Patriots, and Rob Gronkowski is going to be matched up in most people's minds with a guy like Cam Chancellor, and I think that's going to be a really intriguing matchup if it comes to fruition. Chancellor's been so good, he's so physical, and we'll get a chance to see Gronk, who usually is an unstoppable, uncoverable force tight end, go up against one of the league's best. But I think what we'll see from the Patriots is an attempt to be very as balanced as they can be, and go against Seattle, and I wouldn't be surprised to see if the Patriots test Richard Sherman early in the game too. I think it's a mistake to try to throw only to one side of the field and not the other. And as good as Sherman has been, especially with his elbow, we'll see how things go there.
Well, you talked about the running game, and I wanted to ask about LeGarrette Blount because, he was in New England last year, had a wonderful game in the postseason against the Colts last year. He has trouble getting on the field in Pittsburgh, kind of a problem. Comes back to New England, and he looks like a new player again. What is it about, and maybe it's just the system, Bill Belichick in general, that is able to bring guys like him, bring him in, fit him right in, and here he is, tearing it up again, and going to be a key asset here in the Super Bowl when he was barely able to get on the field midway through the season.
Well, I think, in the case of Blount with the Patriots, it certainly has been a good marriage each of the last two seasons. And, he had some problems as well with Tampa Bay. They had a 1,000-yard season with the Buccaneers, and then his carries really diminished. And, eventually it in essence, I guess, it became no longer of use or fit into the game plan of Doug Martin, and he was traded to the Patriots. And last year, of course, especially the second half of the season, and in particular maybe the last quarter of the season, played a much more prominent role for the Pats. This is an interesting team. They really kind of reinvent their game plan from a week-to-week basis, and it's not always the same back who's featured. In fact, you will see all four of the primary running backs for this team, the four veteran running backs, at some point in time, get carries more so than any other, or be involved in the passing game. There's LeGarrette Blount, there was Jonas Gray, the youngster with the 200-yard performance against Indianapolis. Brandon Bolden might be featured back in another game that involves a little more pass protection when it comes to their schemes. Shane Vereen is a guy that is a very good pass catcher and also runs well out of the gun, try to exploit space. So it really varies from opponent to opponent. One would think that Blount would have of the running backs in the Patriots table at present, maybe the most prominent role in the Super Bowl, and he's a unique guy. He's big and physical, and yet, as Bill Belichick said, it's really hard to compare him to anybody else around the league because, he has a pretty remarkable ability to change direction in small spaces, and he uses the jump cut very effectively. You see him get on stretch runs going east-west, and then he starts to turn the shoulders, and once he gets past that line of scrimmage, then he's like two different backs. He's a guy that can break tackles and be very powerful, and then once he gets going, he runs exceptionally well. So he's a guy that has a skill set that the Patriots have found a way to really capitalize on, and also I think just from an emotional standpoint, he really likes playing in New England. I think he appreciates the fact that his role is clearly explained to him. Maybe that was a problem for the past, and when asked what made Bill Belichick the right coach for him, Blount said earlier this year that he knows where he stands in essence. So I think that it's merits that's worked well now each of the last two seasons here, whereas it didn't in other places. And the Patriots, of course, will need him in a big way in the Super Bowl.
Well, on the flip side of things, I wanted to ask you about the Patriots defense going up against the Seahawks offense. They seem to have an advantage with Brandon Browner, Darrelle Revis against the pedestrian wide receivers for the Seattle Seahawks. But how do they deal with Marshawn Lynch and Russell Wilson running that read option, two dangerous weapons in the backfield?
Well, first, I don't really see that. I know people say the Seahawks receivers are pedestrian, but, I look at the Seahawks receivers a lot like the Patriot receivers as a general rule. I mean, you look at New England's wide receivers outside of Gronkowski, the tight end, of course. And you're talking about Julian Edelman, a seventh-round pick who was a college quarterback. Danny Amendola, who was an undrafted free agent, who was on a practice squad and got cut by the Cowboys, wound up on the Eagles practice squad, and eventually got picked up by St. Louis before he was able to establish himself in the NFL. And then there's a guy like Brandon LaFell, who certainly was by no means a star with the Carolina Panthers for 4 years and gradually improved every year. So when I look at Curse and Baldwin and that receiving corps from Seattle, I know that those guys, as a general rule, they were not high draft picks if they were drafted at all. They're not guys that get a lot of respect at teams on the national level, and yet every time you watch them in important situations and in big games, even if it's the case of Curse who struggled early against Green Bay, they make the big plays down the stretch, and they're long ball threats. Obviously, a lot of that has to do with Russell Wilson, but I think those guys get overlooked, and it's easy to discredit them. But it's a pretty good group based on their performance, and I think that's most important, the way they performed on the game's biggest stage the last 2 years. And when it comes to Lynch and Wilson, that's the great predicament, isn't it? When you try to defend those guys, you really have to concentrate on both. It's easy to say, and it's extremely difficult, if not impossible to do. But the running of Lynch certainly enables Russell Wilson to do what he does in the zone read game. Julius Peppers last week a couple of times. Eventually, I think because of the success of Marshawn Lynch, once he saw that quarterback mesh of Wilson and Lynch, he started to go after Lynch, and then Wilson pulls the ball out of the back's belly on the mesh, keeps it himself, and he's around the corner, and he's gone for big yards. The Patriots have done a good job against the limited times they face, against limited teams they faced who run zone read. I mean, we saw it a little bit from Miami with Ryan Tannehill. We've seen it as well from some other teams. Last year, E.J. Manuel built it a little bit. But I think that in this case, you're talking about a quarterback who also has that tremendous ability to throw on the move, keep plays alive with his legs, and a running back who's extremely powerful and breaks a lot of tackles. So you can't commit too many people to Marshawn Lynch, because Wilson's going to kill you either running the ball or off play action, and maybe even with a bootleg, throwing it deep if you start to bring your safeties or a safety up into that box.
Well, we'd be remiss if we didn't ask you about the Patriots' number one weapon, and he's been this way for 14 years plus. It's Tom Brady, and I kind of want to get your thoughts on Brady is getting ready to play, of course, in his 6th Super Bowl as a pro. He's won 3, played in 9 AFC Championship games, which is unbelievable. The numbers are just astounding when it comes to his career. The argument can already be made. Brady's probably maybe the greatest of all time. If with a win in this Super Bowl, 10 years since his last one, do you think that this win would absolutely cement Brady as the greatest of all time?
Well, he probably doesn't need that in the minds of some fans in New England, and if he does it, it will certainly establish him as such in the minds of many in New England and perhaps elsewhere, even in the minds of many others around the country. Whatever he does, it won't make him the greatest of all time. It's just the fact of life and the nature of sports debates. The way I look at it, up to this point in his career, he's certainly in the conversation. And I don't really have a hard time sometimes. When you start to rank guys, because you put somebody ahead of another, and there's always a counter argument. You could say, well, Montana's the greatest of all time instead of a Brady, or an Elway, and then some other people say, well, Elway took some pretty, pedestrian teams to the Super Bowl, and then he finally had a team that could run and play defense, and he won 2. He wasn't at his best when he won those 2, but he was great and did some tremendous things, of course, early in his career with his legs and arm. And, I think in Brady's case, a lot of his detractors will say, well, the reason he won those championships early in his career is because he had a great defense. But then other people will say, well, he took 2 teams to the Super Bowl with a tremendous offense, a record-setting offense, and he's had this remarkably consistent body of work over the course of his career, 15 years now. I certainly think Tom's right up there, and I definitely would include Montana and Elway up there as well. But there are other guys around the game and in the history of the game that often get overlooked. I think of Roger Staubach, who had a limited career because of the concussions late, but also because of his naval service early. And what a tremendous leader and competitor and winner he was at a time when the landscape in the NFL was a lot different. I mean, there were
Sure.
consistently back then, great football teams from year to year, and the argument will go on forever. And I think if Brady does win another, maybe it's going to change some minds, but not all of them.
Well, Bob, I know you're getting ready to call your first Super Bowl in Glendale coming up. Can't thank you enough for joining us. Should be a great experience for you. Hope to see the Patriots maybe emerge there, get Tom Brady this this fourth Super Bowl, and I hope it's a great experience for you guys because it's it's an amazing experience down there, and I hope you have a great call. We'll definitely be listening, Bob. We appreciate it.
Hey, guys, I really appreciate it. It's nice to talk football for a change. Thanks so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Bob. Thank you. Have a great one.
Take care.
All right, take care, guys. Thank you.
Big thank you to the voice of the New England Patriots, Mr. Bob Socci, for joining us. Great stuff from him. It is our pleasure right now. We're going to get right to it with our correspondent from out in Arizona. It's Mr. JJ Birden. He is a former Chiefs wide receiver. He's got some thoughts on this game. JJ, who do you like in this game? Give us some of the ins and outs, man, because we think it's going to be a barn burner.
Now, this is probably one of the few times that I will not be able to speak with freeness of speech because I'm going to give you my prediction of Super Bowl 49 between the Patriots and the Seahawks. And I never went to a Super Bowl during my 9-year career. We got close in 1993, lost to the Buffalo Bills, but that's another story. So, like all of us, let me just give you my prediction. So we got the Patriots and we have the Seahawks. We've got the two #1 seeds playing in the big show, which is pretty impressive. So let's take the Patriots. What do they have going for them? Well, they've got Belichick, and people can say what they want, but this is definitely one of the greatest coaches to ever coach the game. You've got Brady, another one of the elite all-time quarterbacks, of course. I played with the main guy, Joe Montana, but Brady is definitely starting to get into that class as well. They got a solid D, they got weapons all over the place, and Brady knows how to use those offensive weapons. And then you take Gronkowski. I mean, what a mismatch. It's hard to match up on that big, fast, athletic tight end. Then you take the Seahawks, last year's champions, and it's very rare to have a repeat champion. But here's what I like. They got defense, the Legion of Doom. They always say defenses win championships, and that has some truth to it. You've got Russell Wilson. You've got this dynamic, versatile quarterback who can hurt you on the run. He can hurt you with his arm. He can extend plays. Kind of hard to match up. And then the running game, beast mode. We can say what we want about his, I'm just here because I don't want to get fined, but you put the ball in his hands and the guy can definitely do some damage. So it's interesting that when you look at these two, I mean, they're solid teams, they're strong. It's anybody's game. And I think if I have to go with somebody, I think I'm going to go with the Seahawks. And I'll tell you why. I think these guys, they didn't have a great start, but they got it going. And now, once again, they're playing with that kind of that chip on their shoulder, that swagger. And as we saw last week, they find a way to win. So I got to go with the boys in the Northwest. I think the Seattle Seahawks will be Super Bowl champions of 49. Now, I want to hear from you. You give me your comments. Who's your prediction? Who do you think's going to win? And give me the reasons why. Let's have a little fun with this. And, of course, let's enjoy Super Bowl 49.
Hey, while we're at it, we got Marshawn Lynch. Marshawn, do you have anything interesting to say to us? Just real quick, man. Please, just real quick. Oh, okay. I guess not. Let's try someone else. Tom Brady, one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time. Can we get a shout out from you from out there in Phoenix? Hey, Tom, what's up, man?
Brady, yeah.
Hey, that was great, man. It's great to hear from these guys. Media day took place. Hey, we got a little something. Marshawn Lynch, maybe not all that excited to talk. He never is. He just doesn't want to get fined.
Yeah, we figured the Outsider Sports Show, maybe that's the one show he'll talk to, but no, just doesn't want to get fined. Tom Brady at least said, hey, guys, he's a supporter of our Outsider Sports Show efforts here, so it's great to talk to Tom and Marshawn.
Hey, it's time to hold our feet to the fire. Our predictions. Noah, let's start with you. Who wins this game? What's the score? And how long does, and what songs does Katy Perry play at halftime?
Songs, I'm not sure. Maybe Firework or something, maybe something like that.
Definitely, yeah, definitely.
Definitely for our Outsider Sports Show,
yeah.
Great American Sports Network theme we've got going on. But as far as the game goes, I don't see how the Seahawks can score enough points to stay with Tom Brady. Yes, the Seahawks have that great defense, but I don't know how they're Marshawn. I mean, you got Vince Wilfork in there on the outsides. If you're going to make plays, it's going to be tough against Browner and Devin McCourty and Darrelle Revis. So I've got the Patriots 31-20.
I also like the Patriots in this game. I think it's going to be maybe a little more high scoring. I think it's going to be in the 30s. Both teams, I think it's going to be like a 35-31 type game. Brady maybe having to lead a last-second drive. It's going to be epic. It's going to be one of the best Super Bowls you'll see. The two number one seeds making it for the second straight year. Hey, that's what we like, guys. If you like our stuff, GreatAmericanSportsNetwork.com. It's all there. It's all archived. Articles, interviews, all of the above. Hit it up and do it on the reg. Twitter at GA Sports Network. Hit us with your questions. Do it all. Also, our YouTube channel, Great American Sports Network. Subscribe so you never miss a show like the one we had tonight with Mr. Bob Socci, with JJ Birden, Clint Schweitzer, Noah Groniger. Watch the Super Bowl. Be safe. Have fun. Great American Sports Network, and we always have your back.